Hi there, welcome to another Brickright video. So this is the next video in the video that I put out at the building control have put us on stop. So news, we've had some news which is really good. To be honest, it's been a little bit stressful. There's been loads and loads of comments. Some of the comments were you need to pile the ground, you need to put a ring beam in, you need to condemn it, you need to kick the builder off site. Some of people were saying, you know, you got an excellent builder there, keep with him, he's looking after you, and all these kinds of different comments from one extreme to the other. So let me tell you what's been going on, right? Let me start from the beginning just to explain a few things relating to the comments. Our customer up here asked me to formulate a price for the building of an extension, right? At that point I didn't know, you know, what extension he wanted, whether it was a single story, double story. So we started from the very beginning. So the very beginning is this, right? Plan came over to me from the architect, right? Showed on there, as you've seen on the previous video, showed you the plans. If you haven't seen it, go back. Plan came over to me. I was asked by our client to give a price, okay? So how do I work that price out? I get the plans off him and I work out the stipulation and the instructions off the set of building plans, and that's all I can do, okay? There's been a lot of people on there saying you need to drill trial holes. Well, I made an agreement with my client and I spoke to him from the very start, saying that a lot of the time there's a discrepancy in the ground, i.e. you need to dig deeper, i.e. you need to pile it, i.e. you know, building control fail it and you need to put steel in and all that kind of stuff, okay? So we knew that from day dot. I've spoken to him and he said if this would have happened, if he knew this would have happened, he would have still carried on anyway. So he had a good understanding from me as the builder that no ground value evaluation was carried out, no soil test was carried out, no trial holes were carried out, but on the basis of when we start digging, if there's a problem, then I would relay that to him and he would pay for any surplus to be able to get out of ground legally and to the requirements of engineering and building control. So that's the agreement we've had, just to clear that side of it up. Now, so we get on site, we get the price in, customer says yes, thank you very much. The plans come over to me. I have an engineer's calc off the engineer and drawings to be able to construct this and knock everything down as you've seen in previous videos, okay? I'll put a little link up for you to go back to the steel so you got an understanding, okay? So we dug this out, we dug down to a meter, 1.1. We found the ground that you're looking at right here, right now, on the both holes, okay? Building control came along and they looked at the ground and they requested us to go above and beyond what the plan said and put steel in the ground and concrete it to the spec that was actually on the structural engineer's report. 1.1 meters deep, cubed actually, and I think if I remember rightly it was 550 millimeters thick or 1.1 millimeters cubed, square all the way around, right? So we did that, put steel in, and we highlighted at that point that there was made up ground, okay? So that, being so close to that, can be classified as a trial hole. So building inspector and myself talked about it and we said, and I spoke to the customer about it, and we said we could come across dodgy ground or made up ground. Then when we start digging the foundations, we'll have to have a little look. And I will get to the plan. There is a plan on this, right? So stay tuned. I will tell you what the plan is, and I know there's a lot of people interested in to find out what's happening. But before we get there, I have to explain a few things. All right, so this trench that you can see here behind me, we started digging that trench, right? We got down to a meter, as I said in the other video, got down to a meter, called building control. We didn't dig the trench any more than around about 5 meters, okay? So there's your other trial hole. It's another trial hole because we stopped, dug around about 5 meters long, meter deep, stopped, all right? In fact, we dug about 900 because that's what was stipulated on the plan. We went down to a meter while building control was here. Then we decided, because it was like sandy clay, it was clay, but it was a little bit soft. It was a little bit sandy. So we all agreed that to try and find stable ground, we'd go down to 1.3. So we went down to 1.3, and then we were committed. We were committed to that. So we all agreed between myself, building control, the client, Josh, the digger driver, that we would dig this out 1.3 all the way around, okay? But before we got there, engineering was informed, because building control asked us to inform engineering. The engineer was informed, and he said crack on with the dig, because if there's a problem we can design some steel to go in the bottom of it and it'll be absolutely fine. So we started digging. When we got to here, we noticed that the sandy clay turned into this ash, slag, industrial waste, whatever you want to call it, and that was the theme all the way around. But we were hoping we were going to get onto some kind of virgin ground and get onto some stability and everything would kind of be okay. We didn't. So we got all the way around, and then we spoke to building control again, and we spoke to the engineer again, okay? So the engineer said put an A3 steel in, so that's the A393 steel mesh. So what he said was put the A393 all the way around, from there to there, all the way around about 100 mil off the floor, all the way through, and then we'll trench fill the foundation up to between 800 and a metre, okay? So what's happened is building control and the engineer have been going back and forth to try and formulate a plan that's going to be happy for both departments. So the engineer, who's independent, he made up the design for it. He's done a calculation on it. He's clarified the calculation with his client in the office, right? So they've both come up and they've both looked at it, and they've both come up with a calc on it and a spec on it, and they've both agreed that the specification is adequate enough to be able to take the weight of the extension. And then it was a contentious moment where we've got, let me show you. So on this corner here, when the building goes up, from here up to there, we've got a ridge beam, and that ridge beam is going to be, if I remember rightly, I think there's some steel in it. So what they were trying to find out is, on this corner, was that corner strong enough to be able to take the beam, because all the forces are pushing out and all the rest of it. So there was back and forth. One was saying yes, one was saying, well, not no, but they were just going back and forth. And then what we have found is, when we have agreed to it, building control come up with something else, and there's something else. I mean, the latest thing was, the plan was to do that, put the A3 steel all the way around. Building control kind of questioned it. Then it's gone through in-house into their own engineer within the council. Now they've agreed it. And then the latest, I ordered all the concrete, I ordered all the guys, I ordered a crew in to put a boon in, so nobody has to go to the edge of the trench, so we can pour it safely. And then they came up with, well, you're gonna have to shutter it now, Justin, because it's like a V shape. Let me show you that. So as you can see, that goes down and that goes down, hence V shape. Thinner at the bottom, wider at the top, okay? So what building control said, they weren't happy with that, because the weight distribution would be different because of the different specs in the width of the foot in between the bottom and the top of it, hence it being a V shape, okay? So engineering have rubbished that now and said, well, no, that's not good enough. They've talked about the weight distribution and the calcs and everything, and the fact that if we have to put shuttering in there, then that's going to stop us. We get more collapsing. If people have to go in the trench, we're worried about people getting hurt and all that kind of stuff, okay? So here's the plan that I think is going ahead, and this is what I've organised, right? We are going to be getting the digger back in, because it wasn't finished. We put a stop to this as soon as we knew that there was things going on back and forth with engineering and the building control. We put a stop to it because we didn't want to dig it all out to this depth here, because we were fearful of doing it all the way around and having trench collapses and more cost for our client, which we're trying to avoid. So we got to get a machine in. We're getting a 13-ton machine in with a long reach arm. We're going to get all our string lines back up. We're going to make sure everything's square, and we're going to run through and we're going to clean the bottom of the trench up, so it's more kind of vertical and flat, so it's not such a V. We do risk the fact of more trench collapses, but our client have said that we can come in here, we can tidy it up for building control, so try and make them happy, and he's prepared to pay it, because obviously we're still in the agreement that if there's any extra money below ground, then the customer already knew that he was going to pay for it. So the digger's going to come in, take all this out, we'll put the steel in, we'll have building control back the day before the concrete's going to be poured. Look at all the steel, look at all the trenches and everything. Then what's going to happen is we'll get mini mix to pull in where the van is. I've hired the mixer, the mix-it wagon, to fill the boon. So this boon is like a vertical pipe, and the pipe will just go over the trench and it'll fill it up. And we'll have to try and put some steel pegs in here to stipulate the height of, we get the laser level out and stipulate the height of the finished foundation, which building control have asked for. Well, engineering have stipulated around about 1 metre thick. So there we have it. Now then, who decides at the start of the build who is going to dig these trial holes, or is anybody going to dig the trial holes? So when you go into the design with your architect, and when engineering start to get involved with all the specifications, you as a client can ask the architect or the engineer to come up with a formula for your foundations, which would mean digging a trial hole, right? Digging a trial hole and doing a survey on the soil and the ground to be able to come up with a formula of what's going to be all work in your ground, so you know that before, when you dig it out, then you've got a chance that you already know the end game. You're already at the end before you start at the beginning. Now, problem with that is the ground could change, the stipulations from building control could change. Who's going to pay for those trial holes? So you've got to dig the trial holes. In this case, there was a building already up, and it was outside landscaping. There was ground here and you know, people were back and forth and stuff, and we were working in there at the time, so it was a bit unsafe to have holes dug everywhere. It wasn't very convenient for all the lads that's been working up here. So myself and my client, we agreed that we would do this, and if there was any kind of issue in the ground, we'd suck it and see at that time, and the client would pay for it, and he was made fully aware of it. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. You could also, I suppose, go to the local authority, the building control, and ask them what their advice is, because they work on the ground within their local vicinity all the time. They know what the ground is like in these areas, and you could ask them if it's worthwhile doing all these surveys and stuff. So I suppose the ultimate person that's responsible is you as a client for what you actually want, whether you want to do what my client's done and go for it, and know that if there's anything happening, then you pay in the ground if and when, or if you're somebody that wants to know what's what up front, then obviously you've got that option to do that, what's up front. But everyone and everything is different, and I suppose every area in the UK is different. But the fact of the matter is, if you have got soft ground or you've got made up ground, building control can have the last say over anybody. So you do need to be mindful of that. And then if you're going back and forth, like what's just happened to us, it can be a very, very stressful procedure, and it can cost your client a lot of extra money. And you as a builder, you have to stipulate that in your quotation and let them know where you are with it, which is what we've done. So there we are then. There's going to be people now saying you shouldn't be putting A steel in there, A3 steel in there, you shouldn't be pouring concrete on there, that's poor ground, blah 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 blah. I am not a structural engineer, okay? I'm just taking instruction of people that are telling me, superior to me, structural engineers, building control. I'm taking instructions off them. Council have agreed with the engineer. 3 engineers have looked at it now, and they've all agreed that this procedure is absolutely fine, which now protects me as the builder, and it protects my client to know that the job is being done properly. Not saying that piling and putting a ring beam in is the wrong thing to do, not saying that that's inadequate at all, but I've got a plan and I've got to work to the plan that I've been given. So Wednesday the concrete's coming, so that's in a few days time. So this video will go out on Saturday. Wednesday we got the concrete coming. In the comments below what you think about what I've said, and what experiences you've had, and then what I'll do is I'll make another video to show you the concrete going in, and I'll let you know what building control have said when we've squared the trenches up. And I'm smiling, but let's hope I'm smiling after Wednesday and there's some concrete in the ground. So please like, please subscribe. Thanks for everyone's input, good or bad, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next video, on the next part of the job. So stay tuned and we'll see you then. Cheers. Ta-ra.